Yo, what's going on, y'all? It's your boy Core 187. You already know it's the movement. It is a Monday. You know what I'm saying? I hope you guys had a great weekend. Hope everything was cool. For anybody who didn't have a great weekend, if you had something that happened this weekend, like, if it was a breakup, whatever situation that brought you down, my heart goes out to you, prayers go to you, and I hope that things get better in the future. And there's always a learning curve behind it. If you come to this page and you've never been to this page before, definitely tell a friend to tell a friend. This is a motivation, God-fearing video game and exercise channel. I do make other vlogs about current events from time to time, but we really don't try to focus too much on that over here. And if we do, it's always trying to be like more of a positive outlet more than a gossiping outlet. You know what I mean? That's just what it is. You know what I mean? So if you came to the channel, go ahead and, come over here, subscribe. It's a family over here. And hit that like, share if you want to. It's up to you. I can't demand you to do that. It's whatever you want to do, But at the end of the day, I thank everybody who even shows me love. Trust me. You know what I'm saying? Even if it was one viewer, I appreciate y'all. Definitely. So I had a friend, that was speaking to me this past weekend. And he's done an amazing things. He's done a lot of amazing things. And, I had to have a heart to heart with him about certain situations because, he's done the podcast before. He's been in certain spaces. He's, done successful, you know what I'm saying? And things of that nature. And, one thing about him is like, things have to be set up a certain way. And I got to have this to be a certain, I got to have this visual to be this and be that. And I'll be honest with you, right? We live in a society now to where, and I tell this to y'all too, like, yo, the camera's right here. You don't have to have a certain setting and you doing all of this and doing all of these propositions just for something to make it look good. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, just hop on the camera, start talking, make your concepts, the things you can get beliefs in this, that, and the third. Start learning your patterns and stuff like that, and eventually you'll take off. Stop trying to be a perfectionist, because when you try to be a perfectionist, majority of the time, nothing gets done. Because there's always something that you're looking at that's something wrong. Oh, this part is not this, or this part doesn't have this, and I want this angle to be this, and this, that, and the third. Cool. You'll get there along the way, but as you're doing that, because you're so worried about that and trying to make time for all of that before you even release your first project, you've already wasted time. You know what I mean? You don't have to be a perfectionist in the situation. I also say I think it's also good when people see you like really being in your element. You start off, you start off raw. Yeah, people need to stop being dirty minded. But you get what I'm saying. You start off raw. People start looking at for who you are and seeing your come up and seeing your build up as you progress. You know what I mean? I think that is highly important. So I told him, I said, yo, stop trying to be a perfectionist. Stop trying to do so much and just really focus on the fact of your craft. And just, if you have something to say, just say what's necessary. And if you need to revamp it and rechange it over time, when you do have those things, then you go ahead and do that. So that was one of the things that he was talking about. On top of that, he's been known to be a team player the whole entire time. He's like, hey, I've been with this group, and it's just like every time I do something, I'm trying to get things involved, but then it's just like every time I call them, everybody's doing everything else. So I just kept it real with them. I said, they're not as hungry as you are. You understand? If they were hungry, they would still be on that same movement. You gotta understand, it's been decades now. You can't sit there and keep pointing the finger at them of why they didn't do it, why you ain't do it yet. You know what I mean? Sometimes you can't always put your back on the situation and being like, my team, you know what I'm saying? My team, and they got to do this and do that. Maybe a team is not one to be teams because whatever they're doing now, they don't feel like they need, it's not a stressful thing. They're comfortable where they at. Not only that, to me, in my mind, right? Because he's a creative person too. So I'm like, if you creative, you know what I mean? This is what you want to do, then this is why you want to do it. You got to understand certain people, you got to understand, like, so when it comes to a creative space, it don't even have to be this. It could be musically, it could be anything, like, shooting videos, I don't know, right? But if you're not doing it for the love of the craft and you're just looking for a payout, then you're not going to last long. If you're looking for an instant cash grab and being like, yeah, this is what it is. Like for me, for instance, like, me being a truck driver, yeah, we make good money, 110%. We make great money out here. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, did I sit there and go, oh, once I get this job, I'm going to make all of this? Nah, I didn't. You know what I'm saying? I knew what was capable of. I humbled myself, you know what I mean? In the beginning, yeah, of course, you know, you get some money in this field, especially what I do. Forget about it. Like, you like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you try to get all 60 to 70 hours out here. You hear me? You know what I'm saying? But then over time, it's like, am I doing it because I'm like, yo, you know, it's fast money. I can get to this certain thing. Nah, after a while, it's like, no, I'm good at what I'm good at. You know what I'm saying? Like, my MVR is great. You know what I mean? I drive, you know, sufficiently. I'm blessed and highly favored for the talents that God has given me. You know, but it really took the point of, you know, I did this. This is like, this not even work to me at this point. And it's the same thing, vice versa. Like, you got to do it for the love of the situation. No matter if you don't get, like, I got videos on here now that don't get a whole bunch of views, whatever the case may be, unless it's certain hot topics. But at the same time, am I chasing that? I'm not chasing, you know, to be like, oh, because I could go ahead and get this particular number, and then all of a sudden I got all this in the back. You know, like, people start coming to me because I said this, and I'm going to keep feeding that to gain this, because a lot of people do that. I'm not here to do that. My whole main number one thing is to give people motivation, people who don't, you know, who haven't seen me yet, that come from the dirt, that's trying to pick themselves up. That's my art to them, to be that, nah, you could make it. No, you could do this. That's my art. That's what I love doing. So like I told them, I said, you gotta understand, maybe, I'm not saying that's the case, but maybe they just not in it the way you in it. You know what I mean? And you can't keep relying on them to be in it. You got to rely on yourself to be that person this point on. That's like going to the gym. You know what I mean? You going to keep waiting for somebody to be like, okay, y'all going to start at 8 o'clock, and you the only one that show up at 7:30. 8:15 past, they still not there. 8:30 past, they still not there. They just waking up at 8:45, talking about they going to be there at 9:30. Mind you already there. So what you going to do? Wait from 7:30? Because I'm an early bird, right? So what? You going to wait from 7:30 to 9:30 just to work out, and you've been waiting for them for about 2 hours? Heck no. That whole entire time, you could have been sitting there taking that time and worked out a whole hour and a half. You, honestly, by the time they come in, you leaving. Sometimes you got to show, sometimes, you know, you got to show the worth of what the situation is with time, because time don't wait on nobody. You know what I mean? And Tom ain't gonna have a situation to where they're gonna be like, okay, you think Tom is sitting there like, yeah, I'm a wait for you. You know what I'm saying? Tom waits for no man, yo. And time is precious. You can't get time back. You know what I'm saying? You can't, you know what I'm saying? What's going on, bro? You know what I'm saying? You can't get time back. You know what I mean? So it's just like, at the end of the day, you gotta really look at it. Like, am I sitting here really doing what's necessary? You know what I mean? For me, or I'm trying to be a team, you know, not trying to be rude or nothing like that to my boy, because that's my guy. Like, you know, kind of like you being a team player, but you loving too much of the team to where you're not loving yourself more. You know what I mean? And that's the number one key. So, yeah, he wants to do the podcast. He wants to do all of this. He wants to get back into the swing of things. And I just told him, I'm like, yo, at the end of the day, you can't sit there and worry about what they not doing. You got to focus on you and do what you have to do for you. And eventually, if they want to follow suit, they'll tag along. Until then, you got to build your franchise and build what you have to do for you to support yourself and tell your story the way you see fit. You know what I mean? And then I told him, I said, you know, one thing about him, you know, he always wanted to talk about, you know, this has to be a certain lighting. This has to be a certain thing. Well, I need the camera for this. So I need the microphone for this. I told him at the same time that's going on, you wasting a whole bunch of time. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could have had so much more done right now, but because you've been, you know, trying to worry about being a perfectionist so much, how far is that getting you when time is passing? Because you've been sitting here trying to do all of this so, you know, trying to get all these things done at once, or saying I gotta need this, because you're trying to find a budget to bring all of this. Listen, dude, it's not that important. The biggest budget is this camera right here. You got on this phone, this thing here. You know what I'm saying? Like, use this, build with this. And then eventually over time, you know, when things, you know, start financially start getting better, you know what I mean? And you can invest into your own business and stuff like that until, like, you know, like for me, when I build this channel, my goal is to get better equipment. But until then, as long as I got this and build on this and people are hearing what I have to say, it's cool. You gotta understand, Jesus was talking to people everywhere. He didn't have you know, he had his disciples and all of that. But, you know, eventually he gained his following because people knew who he was. But, like, you know, my man was riding on a donkey. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's just like, stop trying to be a perfectionist, man. Just do what you got to do and stop worrying about what everybody's, stop worrying about everybody else. You got to perfect your craft for you and do for what you know how to do. And I know what you're capable of doing, and I know you're super smart, and it'll all come into place. But you got to focus on you now. And I told you I was going to make a video about this weekend. So I just had to let you know, dog. Listen, man, you got to push through and focus on the craft. Focus on everything that your God-given talents that God gave you, and apply that, and just keep pushing, man. And don't worry about what everybody else say. All right? I got to sneeze, but I'm not trying to on camera. Got to hold it down. But, yo, I'll holla at y'all, man. This will be some more videos, but I'll holla at y'all. All right? Peace.